Hello, and welcome to Who's in the Pew? I'm Melissa Pici, editor of La Fe magazine. This show is an extension of La Fe and a production of We Hope, which is run by the Diocese of Laredo's Communication Department. Each week, we will get to know someone new and learn a little bit about his or her unique involvement in our diocese. We hope you will enjoy meeting others who sit in the pews of parishes right here in the Diocese of Laredo. Hi, and welcome to Who's in the Pew. Today I have joining me Luis Zavala. He's a parishioner at Mother Cabrini Church, and he is coordinating a group to go to World Youth Day this summer. Welcome, Luis.
Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for having me here.
We're glad to have you. Luis, tell us a little bit about just your family, if you're native Laredoan, kind of what was life like for you growing up?
So I was born here in Laredo, lived a few years in Mexico, and then most of my life I spent it here. Growing up, it was an interesting adventure for me. You know, it was kind of a lot of playing sports, not so much faith practicing, but kind of more of just enjoying life, not taking it too seriously. But over the years, you know, I've learned, and I think I've grown to the extent where it's kind of like, you know, you've enjoyed life, but little by little, God, you know, made his way into my life, accepting him and doing what he is calling me to do. So, can you repeat the?
Yeah, no. That's great. So you mentioned you used to play sports. What sports did you play?
So I played basketball, soccer, and football. That's kind of what I did in my high school year, where it's like, high school, middle school. Whereas I used to love playing sports, and it was always the one thing that, you know, I would focus on. That was like the main focus as in high school and in middle school. It was like sports, which was fun. I mean, you have that community, but it's just a community of friends, and just pushing each other to become better, but at the sport.
Right. And so in high school, you really weren't practicing your faith very much.
Not as much. I guess I would say not that I wasn't practicing as much, but I wouldn't take it as serious.
Okay.
Because during high school is kind of the age where you do your confirmation.
Right.
So to me, it was more of 2 years, you get it done, and you don't have to go back again.
That's it.
But that's not what happened. Once I finished my second year of confirmation, I had said, you know what, I might come back and I might help out. And I was like, okay, you know, I was interested in doing it. But then the following year came back of confirmation classes for the new group. Mm-hmm. And I didn't go that first day. And then they had asked me, you know, Ms. Rodman, who was a confirmation teacher at the time there at Mother Cabrini, she had asked me, hey, can you come back? You know, she basically, through my mom, because she asked my mom, it's like, hey, bring them back the next week. So I went back that following week, and I never left. I didn't stop. My thing in high school was constantly being there at church. That's where I probably had, besides sports and wanting to be there, I think being at Mother Cabrini was where I spent most of my time.
Really?
Yes, and the reason why I had said I wouldn't take it as serious is because obviously what I know now is I didn't know as much back then at the time, but It was something that I enjoyed being at. I loved being at Mother Cabrini. I loved being around the teens. We had this retreat that was called, we don't do it as much anymore because things have changed, but it was Pascua Juvenil, which that actually comes from Mexico. And so I got invited to do that. It was like, you know, you would always look forward to that Pascua Juvenil and you would always prepare for it. But then it was always like, you know, being at youth group. So there was so much fun out of it. And that's why I say most of my time I spent it there at Mother Cabrini.
Oh, wow. And so was your mom, you mentioned that your mom is the one who was asked to take you back to SIS.
Yeah. So my mom was kind of like the mediator. She was like, you know, hey, they told me to bring you back and I'm going to take you back. And so my mom plays a huge role in my first steps in, you know, following Christ and being on this adventure with him, which is, you know, thanks be to God for that, because if not, then who knows if I would have maybe continued or even be at the point that I am now.
Sure. Yeah. Parents play such a pivotal role.
They do.
And so was Catholicism always something that your family practiced? Were you baptized as a baby, a kind of a cradle Catholic?
Yes, baptized as a baby, but we wouldn't practice it as much. We wouldn't, I guess, give it the importance that Catholicism is. So it was always being, kind of being in the limbo about it until, kind of a few years back ago, probably back in 2015 is where kind of things took a huge change. Back when we used to have college acts, I lived my college acts in 2015. And then from there, it was like a whole, I guess you would say, a whole new life introduced, because it's where I finally decided to, I'm going to take this serious. And at the beginning, it was difficult. I can't say it wasn't, especially because my parents were kind of like, what's happening with, that transformation that's going on, but we're seeing it completely. And it's like, what is about to happen? So once that transformation started to happen, it's kind of like where I was like, you know what? I don't want to take this journey on my own. I want my family to walk with me.
Oh, wow.
So, and it was like inviting my mom, inviting my brothers, inviting my dad. And it was kind of like, okay, let's all start walking together. I can't say that it happened from one day to the next. It was a thing that happened over the years. But now, thanks be to God, we started finally be able to, walking as a family. So it's
beautiful.
Yes, it takes a while. Because sometimes people think, you have to do it. It's one day to the next, but it's tons and tons of prayer and being able to just leave it into the hands of God to do that transformation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. When people are they want family to be more involved in their faith, and they want to share the experience that they have and what they've learned about their faith, or they've seen somebody fall away from the church, maybe you are so eager to see change right away. But that's a good point, that it takes time and a lot of prayer. I like that you mentioned that.
Yeah, tons of prayer, especially because there was moments where, they wouldn't understand. It's like, what's going on? Why are you so ignited with this fire? And to the point where I would have, and being honest, it was like, not that they would have some sort of jealousy, but it was just misunderstanding. And to them, it would kind of bother them that they wouldn't be able to understand. And it's like, okay, if you want to understand it, let's walk on the road. Let's take this journey like that. That's the only way you're going to be able to understand it. And until you allow that door to be open, then you're able to see what's on the other side.
Right.
And that's why sometimes, that's kind of, we forget that part. But when you have that, when you give that invitation and they're willing to open the door, everything changes.
Mm-hmm. And so you really feel like God used you as an instrument to bring your whole family back to Him and grow their relationship stronger with God. Yes,
that. And then too, is I think once I was able to do or become that instrument there, it kind of like transitioned into that college stage and helping out, the young adults, helping out in the Newman Club, becoming a leader, leading retreats, so it's, I guess you would say the first initial mission was with, take care of your family first. Mm-hmm. The second was, okay, let's advance a little bit more. Now I want you to go out with the college students, and that's going to be another difficult task, but I want you to be able to build that courage to go out there and proclaim my name. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of, when we're taking those steps, eventually once I graduated from college, it's like, okay, now you're going on to, working. And now it's like, you're going to bring my name, you're going to bring me to these people that you meet at within the corporate world or wherever it is that, you end up. So so now it's kind of,
that's what God expects of us, right? We are supposed to go and evangelize. You don't just keep this. You mentioned that you were on fire, that you had this fire. And so you don't just keep that to yourself, but you're supposed to go out into the world. That's what He instructed his disciples to do. Yes. And just instructs us to do, right? That message is just as relevant for us as it was at the time for His disciples, to go out and evangelize others wherever that may be. And I can see exactly what you're saying, where with each step, it gets kind of a little bit harder. Although really, I think some would say that it's difficult with family, that at times can be the most difficult, just because I can see where you, as the son, trying to bring your parents in. Sometimes, maybe some people anyway aren't as open to receiving that from their children.
Yeah, the family part was difficult, but I think that was a preparation for what was to come later on, what is to still come. And going back to my college years, I graduated back in, what are we, 20? Yeah. So I graduated in 2018 in December. So I studied finance. And within my time in college, I was basically also spending most of my time in the Newman Club, being a part of that, and also being a part of the pro-life movement there on campus.
Yes.
That was for life.
Yes. I think that's where I first met you, was through the pro-life club. And then the Newman Club is geared toward college students, who are Catholic, and it's just a way to help them continue to practice their faith and grow in their faith through meetings and different events and activities. Is that right?
Yes. So within the Newman Club, the great thing about it is that they offer small groups.
Okay.
So that way you'll be able to grow your relationship with Christ, build a community, but also dive into the Gospels. Mm-hmm. And as well, they have the Cornovum retreat, which is a 4-day retreat where you're just able to go in there and experience the descendant of the Holy Spirit completely into your heart, where you are able to dive more into the teachings of Christ, being able to just spend most of the time with him and stuff like that. So it's a wonderful retreat without giving much information, but and especially the brothers who help out so much within that group, and they help you kind of build that spiritual basis where you are able to dive more into prayer and things like that, which is fantastic.
Yes. Yeah. That's great. Is that a retreat that it continues to be offered to this day?
Yes, they do it right now. It's once a year, but they're hoping to make it at least twice a year. It used to be offered in the spring and in the fall.
Nice. And is that something that you still help with, or not so much anymore now that you've graduated?
Not as much. Being that I've graduated, I don't help out as much. I do try to offer as much as I can, help that, if they ask me basically being that resource. So if they ask me, hey, what can I do here? Or what are different ways that we can get back to what we used to be? Mm-hmm. That's where I kind of come in here and there. Because, I think ever since we've past COVID, has been a difficult situation with trying to build up groups again. The same thing that we had with this whole, World Youth Day group that we're taking. So
that's been a struggle, getting people involved at the college level, just being active in clubs, or in this case, in the Newman Club. I don't know if that's across the board.
Yeah, so it's being active, I think, in everywhere, but within the college level, the high school level. But I think the college level especially is because that's where you're at an awkward stage where you don't know what you want to do. Some people do, but some don't.
Right.
And you're still learning about yourself, and you're still learning about, what God has in store for you. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, most of your time people would go to the Newman Club because you have that community where people are still wondering what's to come in the future. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, you're not doing that on your own. You're walking together in that same path where it's like, okay, what's going to happen in the future? Well, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but we do know that we can trust in God and we can walk together. And that's where the Newman Club helped tremendously, especially in my life, where it's like, okay, you grow so much, but you're growing with others.
Yeah. Yeah. That support, that community that you find, right, at a time that's so critical, where you have the world telling you to be of the world, to live, of the world. That's so critical, is having that support system that, okay, I'm not the only person that is going against the culture in some cases and being countercultural in following God and in pursuing your faith.
Yes, because especially how you mentioned right now, the culture in today's age, it is a difficult one. And it's definitely one that tells you, just be more part of the world, don't listen, put God on the sideline. It's like, no, you want to have God as your head coach. You want to have, you want to have him there guiding you. You want to be there with him. But unfortunately, we're at a time where we're basically at a battle. It's kind of like, hey, you either, you pick up your Bible and fight and you learn and you're not necessarily fight physically, but, be there. It's a spiritual battle, be ready for it. Or you just stand back and it's like, no, like it's okay to pick up that Bible. It's okay to get on that spiritual battle because you want to be with God, and that's what we're trying to help these young adults, these young professionals understand. Like, it's the journey. Don't walk it alone. Walk it with God. He's there with you. And so that's where we're in the works for that. It is difficult, especially when you don't have a huge number how it used to be. So it's not like, you kind of feel like John the Apostle being, the only one besides with Mary, but at the cross, but he's like, well, okay, where are your brothers at? It's like, okay, you're trying to rebuild those people to help you out.
Right.
But it's just, I guess, I think to me is having people to build that courage.
Yes.
But I think people are ready. They just got to build that courage. Just take how they say, put on the suit and get ready.
Yes. So what are some things that you do to keep yourself strong in the faith, and to protect yourself and in times of spiritual battle, that you make sure that you're ready?
Well, so right now, what's been helping me out tons, it's doing the Bible in a year. Okay. And also the catechism in a year. The Bible in a year, I've struggled so much with it. I did it the first year. I tried to do it the first year that initially came out, but I stopped maybe at like halfway.
Why? Because you just didn't?
Because I think I got caught up with other things.
Okay.
That I just didn't give it the time to do it. And then once you kind of fall back, you kind of just stop.
You try
to catch up, and you're just like, no, I'm never going to catch up. And then I did it the last year, but I only got maybe 1/3, and I was like, okay, I fell back behind. And this time I said, one of my New Year's resolution or one of my goals was I'm gonna continue whether I'd fall back, whether I, get behind 3 or 4 days. It's like, okay, continue going. You don't have to finish at the same time as everybody else, but as long as you continue going, you will be fine. Yeah. And then I started doing the catechism in a year, which Father Maximilian has launched this year with Ascension Press. And that has blown my mind completely. I am so amazed by it. I think that has helped me grow so much and wanting to just be as close as possible to God as I can. And I think besides that, also small groups, keeping in touch with friends was like, hey, let's go do this Bible study, whether it just be a one-on-one or whether it be with a group. That, and also we are trying to grow this young professional group. We're trying to build like this Catholic young professional group here in Laredo. If
I can interrupt you real quick, who is we? I haven't actually.
So this we is actually 2 of my other core members that are helping me out with World Youth Day. One of them is Isidro Avila, which I don't know if you remember Isidro, or maybe you don't. And also Carolina Gomez Salinas. I know they were both participant within the pro-life movement group. Okay,
so I probably met them.
Yes, so you've met them before, but they're 2 that kind of had been there where we kind of started to say, hey, let's try to build something. And I think we've finally understood that it was going to be one day to the next. Right. But it's something that we can possibly, hopefully build up within, I don't know, maybe the year or the years to come. Yeah. But currently right now what we have doing too is we're basically doing kind of like a book club on the Imitation of Christ, which also too, I've never done that before. It's my first time going with the Imitation of Christ. So I think it's something that's also spectacular. And so we usually gather up maybe every 2 or 3 weeks and we discuss maybe a chapter or 2 and kind of, see where we're able to grow and learn more.
And apply that to your life. So how many people are in the group currently?
So I want to say within the group, we're about 25 to 30.
That's a great number.
Yeah. So, and then typically for the reunions, we have about maybe 10 to 15. So it kind of like fluctuates, but
Wow.
It's good too. And the idea is for more people to see like, hey, you're a young professional. It's still okay to practice. You're still okay to do as much as you can. You don't have to necessarily just be stuck at work. Because once you get out of, you get out of the university, a lot of people think it's like work. It's like, it's not just work. You can also focus on other things in life, especially the spiritual. And like, don't forget about that, because yes, work can drain you and definitely can put you on levels that you don't want to be at. But it's like, if you have that spiritual ends with you, you're able to sustain more of it. But not only that, you're at such a joyful state.
Yeah. It makes a difference.
Yes, it does.
It truly innerly, your attitude, and I think the way you're able to cope with stress that's out there, and just the way you're able to handle everything, it makes a difference when you are involving God in that, involving your faith in that. So that's great to hear that you have so many people involved. I had no idea this existed. Are you affiliated with any parish, or is this just something kind of independent that you all are doing?
So this one's more of independent,
okay.
But I do participate and give most of my time there at Mother Cabrini.
Okay.
I still try to help out as much as I can, being with other things that I have going on. I was part of the Knights of Columbus as well there at Mother Cabrini.
Nice.
Just recently kind of have to take a step back because of what's to come within the next few months. But
sure.
That's where I was kind of giving most of my time as well, at being, the Grand Knight there at Mother Cabrini's, the Council 7797.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that they had I'm sorry, what is it called with the Knights?
Council or?
A council. Yes. Sorry, and you just said it. Just my brain escaped me. So yes, the individual councils at the parishes. I know several of our parishes.
Yes, I want to say I think about 6 or 7 here around the parishes here in Laredo. So, and we were blessed to have one start up about 1.5 years ago. So
so it's still fairly new.
Yeah, it's still fairly new. We're still learning. We're still trying to grow. It's not. I mean, it was definitely new to me. I hadn't heard of the Knights before, back a few years back, but I had never participated. I didn't really pay much attention to it. But until they invited me to be part of the group, and then they voted me in to be
a Grand Knight.
It was like, okay, now I have to learn, and now I have to, and it's a whole different world there, but it's very rewarding, especially with everything that they do. Especially, I think we were trying to focus more on helping those in need, and just being able to give as much as we can, not only to the parish but also to the community, especially within the areas of Mother Cabrini. It's like, okay, if we can give as much as we can, we're doing a job, and we're doing what we have to do.
Yeah. What are some of the events you've had, or some of the things that you have done?
So about a few months ago, we gave out. So one of the great things is that the Knights of Columbus give out wheelchairs and stuff like that for people in need. So we had given out some wheelchairs to a few people who were in need. Also, too, during the Christmas times, we had found a few kids who were, in need of, some gifts, and we were able to gather up as many gifts as we can. And we had one of our members dress up as Santa Claus, and take these gifts to them, and especially. Just being able to serve there at the parishes, being able to, and the activities that they have, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that St. John Paul II had said, the Knights of Columbus are, they are the right hand of the church. So they were kind of like how he mentioned it, how he portrayed it. So that's where like they really take that serious, and they try to do as much as they can. They try to give themselves completely as much as they can to the parishes.
Wow. That's nice. The Knights, I know that I was familiar with the Knights growing up. My dad was in the Knights of Columbus, still is. But growing up, I remember him being real involved. And I know they have a particular part of their mission, and part of what's important to them is pro-life work. So it makes perfect sense for you being involved in that in college and now, and so much that the different councils do, and to help others. I think it's a beautiful organization that's part of our church. So you've kind of taken a step back. You've had to take a step back from Knights of Columbus because of your recent involvement, and that you were referring to planning World Youth Day.
Yes.
Or not planning World Youth Day, but the group that's going to World Youth Day from Laredo.
Yeah, so we're about from Laredo, we're about 28 going. So we're a total group of 35. Okay. But being that since it's the Laredo, the group of the Congregation of St. John, we also invited a group of Filipinos to come with us, but they're coming from Cebu. They're in the Philippines, so they'll be joining us. So we'll be about a total of 35 young professionals. So some are fairly good. We'll be recent graduates from high school. Some are still in college, and others are already out in the workforce. So it's
good mix.
A good mix of people where, the young can learn from the older groups, the ones who are still in the middle can learn from either end. So it's kind of and it's fantastic. So I'm looking forward to taking this group over so we're going to be going to, we're doing what's called a mission trip.
Okay.
So we'll be going to Spain, to a city called Talavera de la Reina, which is maybe about an hour and a half away from Madrid. Where we'll be doing some parish work there. And by parish work, I mean we're going to be able to bring in as many youth as we can within the city. This is the same way that we're struggling, they're also struggling too. So they were super excited when we had announced that we will be going over there. So we'll be there for about 5 days, and then we make our way to Fatima, and then we make our way to live the days in the diocese in Aveiro, Portugal, and then from there, ending the week in Lisbon with Pope Francis.
Wow. So that's a total of...
That's about 16 days, more or less.
Gosh. That's going to be an incredible experience.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. And the reason why we try to do something like this is because when I first attended World Youth Day, which was in 2016, we went to go do mission work in India. And that was like a whole different life-changing experience.
I can imagine.
One being the fact that it's India, and the second, that was like the first time I had ever left a country, which was in Mexico. It was like to a whole different to the side of the world, and being away from home. It was about a month and a half of being away from home, but I think that time in India kind of really made me realize how grateful I am, for having the things I have here at home and, in Laredo.
Sure. Wow. That must have been life-changing.
It was a complete shock in a way, seeing, just upon arrival, the things that you see in India, it's like, it's true when they say it's a third world country, because you see poverty, you see, basically, kids needing help, families, etc. Like everything I experienced, it was a lot to take in, but it was also a way where it's like, okay, there's a lot that you can learn. Then there's also a lot that you have, you need to be grateful for.
So can you tell me about some of the experiences you had, like just kind of a day, what that looked like, who you were ministering to?
So within the day, so basically we were waking up about 4:30 in the morning because you had to go to Mass we would go to Mass at what was called the Mother House, which was where the house of the Sisters of Charity. So you would go to Mother Teresa. So it was, so say Mother Teresa, it was cool because back then not back then, but they had a little, I guess you would say, like a little board where it said, it would say her name, and she was like, if she was in or if she was out, like if she wasn't there. So when she passed away, her tomb's there. So they have her as in. So every time you pass by, it says in because her tomb is there. So you would have Mass there in the mornings, and then they would give you breakfast. And then right about 7:00, you would go out to the home. So you get to pick what homes you want to go to. So I don't remember the name specifically, all of them, but you get to pick. There's basically a home for the dying. There's home for the little kids. There's a home for the elderly. There's a home for leprosy. Then there's a fifth one, but I don't remember. But I had chose the one for the kids. So it was about maybe anywhere between the age of 8 to, I want to say, about 15-ish. So,
okay.
So I would go home there and help. And so you would do, what I did different things. It was basically you would clean, tutor, feed, and fix up like a little playground for them.
Aww.
So I took charge of being able to tutor and also being able to build a playground for them in the back. It was a group of we're about maybe 10 within there, but the ones who took on the building that playground were about 3 or 4, which was great. You know, you had to do the painting. You basically were trying to fix up as much as you can, because the thing with being there is, as a missionary, is like, well, you decide how much time you want to spend there. So we didn't really have tons of time, but so I tried to do as much as I possibly could while being there. And then so you would spend your time maybe from 7 to midday, and then you would go out to lunch, and then you were given the opportunity to go explore Calcutta as much as you can. And then in the evenings was you had adoration about 5 o'clock, and then you would have a class on philosophy with Father Michael Therese after that. And then it was like, okay, you know, you kind of chit chat a little bit, and then you're ready to go to bed. So, because that was, you basically be sleeping about maybe 9 or 10 at night, because you had to wake up early.
Sure. Wow. That's quite a schedule to keep.
Yes, it was a lot, but it was fun, because after, you don't feel it of how much joy you have.
Right.
Of just being able to do that.
Wow. That's an incredible, I mean, just that's, to be able to live that, what an opportunity. It was
an opportunity of a lifetime. In the group that I went with, we were about 20. We were a small group, and we always talk about it, how much of a blessing it was to be able to have a trip like that. Because that trip, not to say that I'm going to compare trips, but it was like it was like a trip like no other.
Right. I didn't realize, and maybe this is unique, maybe every group kind of does it differently, but I didn't realize that, like you're mentioning, the missionary work that you do prior to going to World Youth Day, is that typical of groups who go to World Youth Day? Or I don't know if you can speak on behalf of, you know, what others do, but...
At least from the groups that I know, not really.
Okay.
Most tend to just go the week of World Youth Day. But ever since that I had that experience, I said, maybe the groups and the members that we take might not be able to live that same experience. But there is tons of, how to explain it, like, I guess you would say, in a way, it's very fruitful to be able to do those missionary works prior. So when I had gotten asked to lead, or basically lead the World Youth Day group for the entire congregation of St. John back in 2019 to Panama, I told them, okay, what I want to do prior to Days in the Diocese and World Youth Day is I want to take a mission trip. So we did a mission trip up in the hills in Chepo de las Minas in Panama.
Wow. And you coordinated that?
Yes. So that one, we were a group about a group of 70. And we were mixed. You know, we had a group from Laredo, Taiwan, France, and a few other countries that I don't recall right now at the moment, but we were a good amount.
So the whole group, all of those 70, you all came together?
We all came together. We all met in Panama. Okay. So it was basically waiting for everybody at the airport, and then we got picked up, and then we made our way to Chepo de las Minas, and you had like 2 buses full of pilgrims, and it's crazy, because once you arrive, you have tons of people cheering. You don't even know these people at the airport, but everybody's cheering because you're going to their country. And it's like, I mean, at least when I had to first arrive, I was amazed, because the way that people just show you that love without them even knowing you. It's like, you came from wherever you're coming from to my country to practice your faith. Like, that is magnificent. And then you hear all these testimonies, and I think one of my favorite things about all this too is all the encounters that you have. You get to see how much, the joy that they have for you just being there, even without you knowing. That's what also, to me, is like, wow, you know, they get to see that, and you get to see it too. It's like, they don't know you, but, you know, you're sharing that same fire within you. You're sharing that same joy.
Right. That really just is a beautiful example of the fact that we are all brothers and sisters united in Christ.
Yes.
I mean, just really, I think that just perfectly defines, you know, how it feels to, without even knowing one another, having this, you have this common ground, and you have this love for God that you share. So it's automatically being accepted and accepting others. That's really beautiful.
So I think so for the exact same for this one, we're trying to do that mission part, so that, and I think that it's also maybe to some will be a life-changing, to others might not be. But I think that if you get to experience that mission trip, it makes the trip even more special.
Right.
Because when you go into the Days in the Diocese and you do World Youth Day, well, you're surrounded by thousands and thousands of pilgrims. But on these mission trips, it's like it's your group. You're able to grow with your group. You're able to dive in more. But you get to experience that family, what the culture's like, how they are able to practice their faith, what they do, etc. So it's like it becomes more profound and more special. That's why I really enjoy doing these mission trips. Before.
Yeah. That's so nice. So this, you leave in August, is that right?
So the group leaves July 19th.
Oh, July 19th. Okay.
So they leave July 19th, arrive in Madrid about July 20th. And then from there, the adventure, from the moment they get on the plane and here in Laredo, but it's like from the moment upon arrival, it's like, they will be experiencing so many things. It's being there in Talavera in the parish. They'll be able to go to Guadalupe, which is they're going to go visit the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Going to visit Toledo. So being able to do that, and then going to Fatima, spending a whole entire day there, or spending the night there. And then being able to experiencing the Days in the Diocese in Lisbon, which is going to be, it's going to be magnificent.
Yes. So much to learn with all of that.
So that's it. And it's within 16 days, it's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
That's why I always tell them, I was like, you're going to experience so much, but what I will, suggest is take as much as you can into your heart. And then when you come back, kind of ponder that, see where you can grow more, see what you've learned, see how you can apply it in your life completely. Because within taking this group, one of the biggest things is not necessarily just going on this trip. Our goal on taking this group is to be able to bring back leaders within this to have here in the community, to be able to go back into the parishes and to be able to share all this that they've learned, so that people can get inspired, so that people can be motivated, so that they can share that same fire with them, and within their community, within the parishes, and also in the college level. Like that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build those leaders so that they can go out there.
Yeah. Well, that's what we need. We need, going back to what we were saying earlier, and just your own testimony, being able to go out and evangelize and pull others in and bring others back in. And especially, with rebuilding after pandemic that had affected so many aspects of life, and in particular when it comes to the faith. So rebuilding that and building upon that, because we do fight so many pressures of the world. So yes, I could see how an experience like this would be very transformative, and yes, bringing that light back to help spread that. I love that. That's main goal of all of this at the end of everything. So, and do you all have? I'm sure you do. You have priests who are going as spiritual companions to help lead the group that you're taking? Yes.
So right now we have two priests that will be joining us. It's Father Johannes Pio and Father Felipe de Jesus. So they're both found here in the congregation of St. John here in the Laredo Priory.
Yes.
And so they'll be the ones joining us on this trip.
And have they kind of made, as with the past World Youth Day, have they made a plan that you all are going to follow as far as prayer goes, mass, and? So
usually, the core team, we're the ones who kind of make that program, and then so they view it, review it, they approve it. This is the time that we'll be doing prayer in the morning. This is the time we'll be doing mass. So I think one of the difficult parts when it comes to all that here is that coordinating with the parish on the other side in Madrid. So we're trying our best to correlate everything together where it can fit, just where at least we can have, majority of their parish attend with all these events going on there, especially. So we had to basically create a whole program from scratch and getting approved, between them and getting approved with the parish in Spain. And it's like, okay, and that's where you kind of are able to finally finalize, okay, this is what the schedule is going to look like.
Wow. So how long have you been planning for this?
This has already been about a year.
Wow.
About a year. So, and it's a lot of work because not only do we take on the whole working on the program, but it's also, you know, the logistics of it, taking care of flights, taking care of transportation, bringing in people to go on this trip, fundraising. Like, I think where most of your time goes is also on the fundraising, but not only that, trying to focus as much as you can on the spiritual aspect of this trip. Because sometimes everything else going on with the logistics, with the fundraising, you tend to sometimes put it on the side, your spiritual. And it's like, okay, you know, we got to focus on this. Like, this is where we got to target. This is what we got to do, spiritual growth. So besides the spiritual growth, it's like, okay, well, you got to fundraise, you got to make your money to go on this trip. So that's kind of what basically the core team consists of, you know, doing that, trying to take care of all that.
Yeah. And so has the group already, you all have had opportunities to come together to meet, to kind of already start bonding? And
yeah, so we've had a few, most of our bondings revolve around whether it would be like a day retreat or a weekend retreat, trying to do small group within the World You Dig groups that we're taking. Okay. And also within the fundraisers, we try to, the fundraisers that we do, we try to invite most of them to come so that we can also bond, because through that you get to learn how each person is when they're tired, how they are when they're hungry. So you get to see the little details. But that's how I tell them, like, the reason why I want you to learn how each one of y'all is during these moments is because then you learn how to react when you're over there, when you're exhausted, when it's like 6 p.m. but you still know you have to do like 4 more events. Like, you're not going to go to bed anytime soon, but you're exhausted throughout the day. Like, you know how to react.
Right.
You don't blow up on your partner. You don't get after them. You learn how to handle the situation in a better level. I'm not saying you're going to perfect that, you know, handling that situation, but you're able to cope with it a lot more easy. It's more easy.
Yeah, I can imagine that can be very challenging at times.
Yes, it is, especially once you're exhausted. I think being the exhausted part, you know, that's where it kind of gets to you, because you're just all you want to do is go to sleep. Right. But with what you do throughout the day, you know, the being super hot, because I want to say that, you know, Europe in that time is hot in general. It's like, you know, being up and down all day is like thinking and all these stuffs, and it's like, okay, you're in for a ride.
Yeah. And serving others, I think, can be, I mean, that can drain you, you know, as you're giving of yourself, you're pouring out of yourself. And so I know that too, as rewarding as it is, and as much as it can motivate you to see that you are being of help, you are serving others, you're being the hands and feet of Christ. That alone, you know, can be draining. So I think that's very important and very nice that you all work in Mass and prayer, you know, to spiritually nourish yourselves, so then you can go out and give and serve and have the strength and to have patience with each other too.
Yes, because if we don't take care of that spiritual part, then, you know, when we go over there, we're not going to be as strong as we would like to be, and we won't be able to do the evangelization that, you know, that we're called to do. So we want to be as much as we can ready for all that, because it's important, and it's also very important to be definitely in prayer to be ready for all that, and for what one is going to do when we get over there.
Yes. By any chance, you mentioned that you have brothers. How many brothers do you have?
So I have 3 brothers and 1 older sister.
Oh, okay. And you have a sister. Okay. And so are your brothers all younger than you? It's your sister, you, and then them?
So it's my sister, myself, and everybody else is younger.
And then everyone else. So has your sister had a chance to go to World Youth Day, or will your brothers, have they gone, or will they go?
My sister, no, but one of my brothers went with me to Panama. Okay. And then now I'm taking another one to this one, and we'll see. Maybe hopefully I can take the third one on to another trip. But yes, so far 2 out of my 3 brothers, and plus my sister, I've been able to take at least 2.
That's great. That I'm sure that will be something fun, something extra to look forward to.
It's I guess you would say a learning experience as well, especially because it's it's one thing to be at home with them, and, you know, but it's a whole different thing to take a trip with them. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm excited for it, because I know my brother too is excited for it. So, and you just get to grow. You get to grow that bond that you have as brothers, and you get to learn more about each other, because So when mom's not around, you get to learn.
Yeah. Being completely different country and doing something you don't do every day. So yeah, that's really cool. That's be a neat experience, I think.
Yes.
Final thing with World Youth Day, I think I could talk about this all day.
Me too.
And I've never been to one. So what does once you get to World Youth Day, what do those days look like? What fills those days, that time?
So the World Youth Day week, I can start out with it's one of those weeks where it's like, I guess you would say, picture Laredo just jam-packed with as many people as you can think about, going everywhere, left to right. But basically on a regular World Youth Day week, at least, let's say if this was on a Monday, the first thing you do in the morning, besides prayer and maybe have mass, you also have catechisms in the morning. So you do catechisms. I think Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays you do the catechism, maybe even Thursdays. But they have catechisms ready for you. So they pertain to five different languages: English, Spanish, French, Italian, and Portuguese.
Wow.
So if you're with an English group, you try to go to the English catechisms. But you have to figure out where they are because they're scattered all around the city, basically. So you got to figure out, hey, it's on this side of the city, so you have to go all the way that way. Okay. And then, so you do that maybe about an hour to 2 hours. And then this is instruction with a priest or? Yeah. So usually they try to do, I know at least in Panama was doing the bishop, what is it? USCCB? No. The Bishop Conference. Yes. So they tried to have some of the bishops there, or I think like one time we had a cardinal as well. But so they tried to have bishops or the cardinals or sometimes priests. Okay. Do that, but for the most part, I think they try to focus with the bishops to have help there. Nice. And then from there, you basically midday you go out for lunch. And then in the afternoons, they have all different activities going on. So they have different sections. So, for example, here they have a vocational booth. Like they have a vocational grounds where you get to see all the different congregations within the world, different groups that are, just trying to look for volunteers and stuff like that. So you get to go there and you do your thing. You walk into the vocational, see what interests you, and maybe, see you might end up with one of those congregations that are there. And then they also have I guess I would say like a festival ground. Okay. So they have different areas where they're having different type of presentations, culture presentations, music, so things like that. And then they also have these sports events, of course. So this time they're focusing on volleyball because it's something that they love. So they have volleyball tournaments. I know in Panama they had soccer tournaments because they love soccer. So they had different tournaments going on. And then sometimes you just go out and explore what they kind of propose to explore. That's, historical markers and stuff like that. Wow. So you kind of try to go for the most part everybody goes to the catechism classes. Okay. And then after that in the afternoon it's like, okay, what are we going to do? What's next? And then the good thing about different groups within the US, for example, like the Knights of Columbus in 2016, I remember that they had hosted a sort of like an XLT night, a night of adoration and praise and worship, but it was hosted by the Knights. So that I remember they had Matt Maher, they had Bishop Robert Barron giving a catechism class as well there, and they had we had adoration, and confessions within the stadium. So it was called a Night of Mercy, and I think that to me was one of the most beautiful experience that I had within that World Youth Day was that Night of Mercy. It was I was amazed by that. But so you just try to figure out what different groups are going to be having host, like what they're going to be hosting. So you kind of make a whole program. Yeah. Within the program they have, you make another program. So there's a lot offered, and you select what of those things offered you're going to attend and take advantage of. Yes. And then when it comes to the opening day, which is Wednesday, I think that's you have the opening ceremony, and then you have the Pope's arrival, and it's like everything gets flooded with people. Like you tried your best to get into the front of the barricades to see, in this case, Pope Francis. So, and it's like, and then from there on, you start the journey with Pope Francis during World Youth Day.
Wow. Oh, wow. Well, I will keep you and I'll go into World Youth Day in prayer.
Thank you.
I am excited to hear about it afterwards. And we are plugging in to our summer issue, as you know, a brief story on World Youth Day, on the group going. And so we hope to have in the following issue of Lafayette, after you've gone on the trip, a follow-up so we can share some photos and how it all went after the fact.
It's going to be great. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to jump to something different now, something you're here with us on our podcast, but you have experience behind the camera of a podcast during the pandemic, Father Joe Cadena, and gosh, I'm only gonna
Father Lolo.
Father Lolo. What's his full name?
Eleodoro Lozano. Yes.
Lozano. Okay, I was forgetting his last name. I just know him as Father Lolo. They had a podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How that came to be? How you got involved with that?
So the podcast was called No Solo de Pan Dulce Vive el Hombre. So fun. So the reason how I got involved with that is because I had started when we started broadcasting or live streaming all the masses and all that during the pandemic. And I'm going to be very honest, I had no clue how to work a camera like that. But to me, I had took the opportunity because I said, this might be the only way that I can, constantly, be going to mass. So I took that opportunity and said, hey, I'm willing to help you. Like, I'm willing to learn. So from there, I was like, what should we do to be able to evangelize, to be able to go through media and do something different?
Right.
So like, okay, let's do No Solo de Pan Dulce Vive el Hombre. And it was like, it just came out like, oh, let's do this. So then, we started doing those live streams to YouTube, and it was like, have coffee, have a talk on a certain topic. We had different breads. I know Quickie Bakery is one of the sponsors that, they would give us conchas and different times to have there. So, and it was just basically having different topics to talk about with people and helping them to be able to continue on that faith journey through living that pandemic. So that's kind of what we were doing. So we had about maybe 5 or 6 episodes around there.
Nice. So in addition to learning the camera and how to work all of that and the technical side of things, what did you take away from that experience? So from that experience, I think that
besides the fact of building that friendship with them, I think too that I learned of how much one can do when in difficult moments. Sometimes we close ourselves off when it comes to difficult moments. I think that there is no way to get to Christ, but you just have to find the different options that suit you and are able to help you, climb up that ladder. Because sometimes, you'll be crying. I don't know. Sometimes you'll be going up, let's say, a rocky mountain, and you might miss a spot. And it's like, okay, what's going to happen next? Like, I'm done for. And it's like, no, like look closely, and there might be another area where you can put your hand or put your foot. So it's the same way with this. As I learned, like, okay, the way of evangelization, was kind of difficult at that time, but you can do it through media. You can do it through video. You can learn through videos that, that are being shared. So there's a lot of things that you can learn online. Not everything's bad online. So that's what I also learned. It's like, there's so much evangelization that can be done on media. And that's where it's kind of like, okay, I wanted just to constantly do it because people were seeing and it wasn't about the views. It was more about getting to the people through the camera. Yes. And you've seen it with so many, like Ascension, press, they get so many, they are able to get to so many people through that.
Right.
So that was one of the things that I learned. I was like, okay, there's different ways for you to spiritually grow, but there's different ways you can also evangelize. Yes.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I know in general, technology took off and like Zoom meetings took off. And so why not incorporate that into the faith too and helping evangelize through the media. Wow. Well, that's a neat experience too, getting to do that and working with both of those priests, some of our priests here in the diocese. Okay. So I would like to kind of just ask you some fun facts as we wrap this up. Just learn some quick facts about you. So, are you a morning person or a night owl?
Oh, I am I think I've transitioned to a morning person right now. I used to be a complete night owl, but I think that
post-college
and probably up to maybe about 2 weeks ago, I become a morning person because I think I've been trying to discipline myself to wake up around maybe prior to 5 a.m. Wow. So it's been a struggle kind of, but so I went from being a night owl to now it's like, okay, try to beat the sun and, try to get done as much as you can in the mornings. So I'm transitioning into a morning person.
Nice. Well, along those same lines, what is your favorite drink to have to wake yourself up?
Favorite drink to have has to be an espresso.
An espresso.
Yeah, it has to be. It's the first thing that one of the first things that I have in the morning. I always have my waters in the morning, but definitely having my coffee there ready to go.
And is that black or add sugar?
I usually add milk to it, a little bit of milk, and maybe half a packet of sweet and low, or maybe half a packet of sugar. Depends on what I'm feeling that day.
Pretty strong.
Yes.
Top place to eat?
Oh, that's a good question because I love trying different things. Top place to eat? Oh my gosh. So I would probably say... that's a hard one. I love pizza. So anywhere that has pizza. I'm a huge fanatic of pizza, but that can be bad sometimes because I think I could probably eat pizza every day.
Right.
So top place to eat it's difficult to answer, but definitely like I say anywhere that has pizza.
Anywhere that has pizza. Well, there's a lot of pizza places, so that's good. Yes. Good for you. Where is some place that you would like to vacation?
Vacation? I'm probably Greece. There's something about Greece that has been calling me for a while, but that I want to go see, but I don't know what it is. And so I think I would love to go vacation in Greece.
Oh, that would be beautiful.
Yes, I'm hoping to maybe within the next few years to be able to go there.
Yeah. Well, nice. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share as we wrap up?
Yeah. So if you're looking for a young professional group and where you're trying to, grow in your faith and have that community, get in contact with me, we'll be more than glad to have you join our group because, don't walk this journey on your own. There's people out there who would love to walk with you, who understand you, who want to help you get close to Christ as possible. And, if you want to join that group, by all means, join us and just be, have fun. It's a good adventure. It won't do no harm. All we're going to do is grow. Yeah.
Continue to build that community as young professionals.
It's important.
Do you have a Facebook page?
We don't have a Facebook page, but I'm assuming this is going to be posted on Facebook.
This will be posted to our Facebook.
So you can just, comment that you might be interested online. I'll be looking at the comments and I'll share my info with you all. But we don't have a Facebook yet, but we'll eventually get there.
Work on. Nice. Well, that's great. Well, thank you again for coming in, for joining us, for sharing a little bit about your life, your faith journey, and how that has led you to where you're at now, leading others, leading World Youth Day. Again, we'll be praying for you. We wish you all the best. And we just pray for a very fruitful trip for all who are attending World Youth Day.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity to be able to share all this.
Of course. Well, and thank you for watching another episode of Who's in the Pew. We hope you will join us next time. And we also have to thank our sponsors who make this all possible. And we encourage you to pick up the latest issue of La Fe, if you haven't yet, at your parish, or you can sign up online for free. Thank you.